A former intern is sharing stories about how Blake Lively made her cry.
As I walked out, I just started crying because I was afraid.
She and her husband are bullies.
Blake Lively just got exposed. Big time. Crew members are spilling the tea on how she's been treating them like dirt behind the scenes, and the humiliation is brutal. For years, she's been putting on this polished Hollywood sweetheart act while secretly tearing down her smaller co-stars, mocking them, belittling them, making them feel like they don't belong. And if anyone dares to challenge her or voice an opinion she doesn't like, she makes their entire workday a complete nightmare. Now the cracks in her Golden Girl image are wide open. The charming, picture-perfect Blake Lively everyone thought they knew? Turns out when the cameras stop rolling, she's not so dazzling after all. And with her messy legal showdown against Justin Baldoni spiraling out of control, even more people are stepping up to expose the real Blake Lively, the one who's less of a Hollywood darling and more of a walking PR stunt with a serious entitlement complex. One of the first major blows to Blake Lively's reputation came straight from someone who worked on Gossip Girl, a crew member named Ewood. He wasn't some Hollywood big shot, just an everyday guy trying to do his job like everyone else. But apparently, that was enough for Lively to treat him like he didn't even exist. And when she did acknowledge him, she didn't just brush him off, she straight up called him a monkey during a live event. Look at this. While Leighton Meester and the rest of the cast actually respected the crew, greeting them, nodding, making them feel like part of the team, Lively acted like they were air. No hellos, no eye contact, nothing. Just pure indifference like they were props on set. And when she did bother to speak, that tone, so condescending it could make a kindergarten teacher cringe. And if things didn't go exactly how she wanted, oh, everyone on set knew about it. But here's the real kicker. She wasn't just cold to the crew. She was actively trying to drag Leighton Meester down with her. Leighton Meester was known for being warm, down-to-earth, and actually likable. And apparently, that just didn't sit right with Blake Lively. Instead of embracing their co-star bond, Lively reportedly threw shade, with rumors of passive-aggressive digs, snide comments, and even jokes about Meester's appearance. Sounds less like a colleague and more like a high school bully. And this wasn't just some Gossip Girl phase. This was a pattern. For years, no one dared to call her out. Why? Because she had the ultimate Hollywood shield. Married to Ryan Reynolds, tight with media insiders, and an expert at playing the PR game. She knew exactly how to keep her image spotless while keeping the industry on her side. But now, with her legal battle against Justin Baldoni crumbling, people finally feel bold enough to spill the truth. And wow, they are not holding back. Here's the real problem. Hollywood isn't falling for it anymore. The same industry that once protected her is now watching her downfall like it's the hottest drama on TV. More crew members, co-stars, and insiders are stepping up, painting a picture of someone who's not just entitled, but masterfully manipulative. That sweet, funny, relatable Blake Lively that fans adore? Yeah, that's not the Blake Lively people behind the scenes had to deal with. And it's not just the Gossip Girl set. Stories are surfacing from other movie sets, press tours, and interviews, all painting the same picture. A woman obsessed with control. A master at playing the media like a game of chess. Hollywood is filled with actors who can flash a perfect smile for the cameras. But behind closed doors, the act never holds up forever. And now, for the first time, the world is finally seeing the real Blake Lively, the one that Hollywood insiders have known all along. But what happened to Justin Baldoni? That's a whole different level of brutal, because this time, it's not just another shady joke, a mean-spirited prank or cold behavior. This time, it cost him his entire career. Justin Baldoni fought for years to bring It Ends With Us to life, securing the rights, pouring his heart into the script, and making sure the adaptation stayed true to Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel. This was his film, his vision, a passion project he had nurtured from the very beginning. But then, Blake Lively walked in like she owned the place. And just like that, it was all about her. From the moment she signed on, insiders say Lively made it her personal mission to hijack the entire production. According to Forbes, she demanded massive script changes, pushing rewrites that completely altered the book's most important themes. What was supposed to be a raw and emotional portrayal of domestic violence? Yeah, it started looking more like a Blake Lively self-promotion tour, according to insiders. And it didn't stop there. She reportedly clashed with Baldoni constantly, acting like she knew more about filmmaking than the actual director. And this wasn't just Blake Lively tossing out a few creative ideas. She was making demands. Reports say Justin Baldoni was systematically pushed out of key creative decisions. His control over the project stripped away piece by piece, while Lively took over everything. Even the final cut of the film, something that should only be in the director's hands, was allegedly ripped from Baldoni's control. Instead of the version he had poured years into, the one that honored the book's emotional depth, Lively reportedly had it re-edited by her own handpicked team, reshaping the film to fit her vision. But the ultimate slap in the face? The film's premiere! Typically, when a director dedicates years to a project, they're the ones front and center, celebrating their work, standing proudly alongside the cast, soaking in the moment. But Baldoni? He and his family weren't even given proper seats. Leaked event coordination documents confirmed that instead of being treated like the film's creator, he was shoved out of sight, forced to sit in the basement. The director of the film, reduced to an afterthought at his own movie premiere, while Blake Lively and her PR team completely took over the event. And if that wasn't bad enough, Lively wasn't just there to promote the film, oh no. She had an entirely different agenda. She used the press tour of a domestic violence film as a platform to push her alcohol brand, Betty Booze. Let's just pause for a second to appreciate how tone-deaf that is. A movie that was supposed to shed light on the struggles of abuse survivors? She turned it into a branding opportunity for her booze business. Red carpets, press interviews, social media. Lively made sure to link the film's release to Betty Booze at every opportunity. And in case the irony wasn't already hitting hard, alcoholism is a major contributing factor in many domestic violence cases. Twitter and Reddit absolutely exploded. They were not having it. Fans immediately called her out, slamming how wildly inappropriate it was to use a film about abuse victims to push a liquor brand. One viral tweet even compared it to using a cancer awareness campaign to sell cigarettes. The backlash? Swift, brutal, and absolutely justified. And just like that, the movie's entire promotional campaign spiraled into a PR disaster. But instead of owning up to it, Lively did what she always does. She flipped the script. As the criticism poured in, she started subtly shifting the blame, making it seem like Baldoni was the real problem all along. In interviews, she painted herself as the one who had to fight for creative control, conveniently leaving out the fact that she had already stolen it. By the time production wrapped, the power struggle between Lively and Baldoni had become one of Hollywood's worst-kept secrets. Reports confirmed that their working relationship had completely collapsed, and insiders even hinted that Baldoni tried to push back. But with Lively's powerful industry connections, he never stood a chance. And then came Lively's damage control. Though, ironically, the only real damage was done to Baldoni. Well, whatever the truth is, in December 2024, Blake Lively dropped an explosive lawsuit against It Ends With Us director Justin Baldoni, accusing him of sexual harassment, body shaming, and orchestrating a smear campaign against her. The lawsuit wasn't just legal action, it was a reputation destroyer, crafted to position Lively as the victim of a toxic male co-star abusing his power. Her legal team pushed the narrative hard, feeding carefully curated statements to major media outlets. Variety, Deadline, The Hollywood Reporter, they all ran headline after headline detailing Lively's accusations, painting Baldoni as a dangerous director who made her feel unsafe on set. And then, Ryan Reynolds, Lively's husband and a Hollywood powerhouse, threw his full support behind her, making sure the story dominated social media, celebrity gossip pages, and late-night talk shows. For a moment, It looked like Baldoni's career was done for before he even had the chance to defend himself. But then, he fought back. By January 2025, Justin Baldoni hit back hard, filing a massive $400 million countersuit against both Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, accusing them of defamation and extortion. And his legal team? They didn't just deny the accusations, they came armed with receipts, text messages, first-hand accounts, evidence that directly contradicted Lively's claims. And then came the leaks, and they were devastating for Lively's case. The biggest blow? Private text messages between Lively and Baldoni surfaced, messages that completely dismantled her allegations. One of her strongest claims? That Baldoni invaded her privacy, allegedly walking in on her while she was breastfeeding. The media ran with it, headlines screaming about how she was humiliated on set, how her privacy was violated by a man in power. But the leaked texts told a very different story. A July 2023 exchange revealed that Lively herself had invited Baldoni into her trailer while she was breastfeeding. The message read, verbatim, "Not only did this obliterate her own lawsuit, but it proved that Baldoni wasn't the aggressor, he was following her lead." And then there was the body-shaming allegation, the claim that set social media on fire. Lively accused Baldoni of commenting on her weight, implying that he had pressured her about her appearance while filming. But once again, the evidence was telling a very different story. Once again, the text messages blew her claims apart. Baldoni hadn't made any remarks about Lively's weight. What he actually did? He asked how much weight training he needed to do in order to safely lift her during a scene, a standard question for actors performing physically demanding stunts. But Lively twisted this into a body-shaming attack, making it seem like Baldoni had criticized her weight, when in reality, he was just looking out for both of them. And then came the most damning piece of evidence, the one that completely undercut her entire lawsuit. Lively claimed that Baldoni had made her uncomfortable during intimate scenes, saying she felt unsafe without proper boundaries in place. She positioned herself as a victim, suggesting the set lacked industry-standard protections. But when Baldoni offered to bring in an intimacy coordinator, a standard industry practice for scenes involving physical closeness, she declined. A leaked text from May 2023 showed Baldoni directly reaching out, offering to ensure everything was handled professionally. Lively's response? "No, I'm good." So not only did Lively refuse the very support that could have prevented any issues, but months later, she flipped the script, acting as if Baldoni had violated her personal space. By this point, the public wasn't buying it anymore. By March 2025, multiple entertainment journalists who had initially backed her lawsuit began backtracking. Even former Lively supporters in the media started questioning her credibility. The turning point? A breakdown of the leaked text messages by Andy Ree, a prominent Hollywood commentator. His show racked up millions of views, and suddenly, the narrative had flipped. Baldoni wasn't the villain anymore. And Lively? The once untouchable Hollywood Golden Girl was now facing scrutiny like never before. And as more details leaked, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just about one lawsuit. This was about Blake Lively's long history of twisting narratives to serve herself. For years, Lively has crafted the perfect Hollywood image, the effortlessly charming it girl. But behind the polished persona lies a pattern of behavior that's far from golden. Long before she made headlines for hijacking It Ends With Us and launching a legal war against Justin Baldoni, there were already whispers. Stories from co-stars, crew members, and insiders who had seen firsthand how she really operated when the cameras weren't rolling. And one of the earliest and most damning examples? Her time on Gossip Girl. Back in 2007, when Gossip Girl was on the verge of defining an entire era of television, casting decisions were everything. And when Penn Badgley was brought in to play Dan Humphrey, Blake Lively didn't just dislike the choice. She actively made sure no one else liked him either. In an old Glamour interview that recently resurfaced, Lively admitted, without even trying to soften it, that she poisoned the entire cast against him when he was first hired. She didn't hint at it. She didn't downplay it. She flat out said that she made everyone dislike him before he even had a chance to prove himself. And according to her, it took her a week to finally admit that Badgley was actually a nice guy. But by then, the damage was done. She had already ensured that his introduction to the cast and crew was filled with unnecessary tension. And that wasn't even the only time she used underhanded tactics on set. Leighton Meester, who played Blair Waldorf, was the perfect foil to Lively's Serena van der Woodsen on screen. Their characters? Best friends turned rivals, constantly locked in a battle of social status and power. But behind the scenes, the rivalry wasn't just acting. Crew members from Gossip Girl have since revealed that Blake Lively spread false rumors about Leighton Meester, making passive-aggressive comments about her appearance and throwing subtle shade that made it very clear she saw Meester as a threat. Unlike Lively, who came from a Hollywood-connected background, Meester had built her career from scratch. And allegedly, that didn't sit well with Lively at all. Over the years, the tension between them only grew, with multiple sources confirming that Lively made things difficult for Meester both on and off set. She reportedly refused to interact with her outside of filming, never even attempting to build a friendship, despite producers pushing for one to keep up the illusion of their on-screen bond. And it wasn't just coldness. Crew members have described Lively's condescending attitude, saying she spoke to people like toddlers, treating makeup artists, assistants, and even junior producers like they were beneath her. And if she didn't get her way on set, oh, she would cause a scene, making production a nightmare for everyone involved. And it didn't stop there. One journalist recalled an interview where Blake Lively mocked Leighton Meester's past struggles in a way that was deeply personal. Meester had a difficult childhood, growing up in a challenging family situation, something she rarely spoke about in public. But Lively, knowing the details, allegedly made a joke about it during an interview, framing it in a way that felt less like an innocent comment and more like a personal dig. And according to Hollywood insiders, this wasn't just a one-time thing. This is how Lively operates. If she doesn't like someone, she makes sure others don't like them either. If she sees a co-star as competition, she finds subtle ways to undercut them. And if she feels like she's losing control, she does everything in her power to control the narrative. And now, in a last-ditch effort to prove Baldoni was smearing her, Lively is demanding phone records from AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon, claiming she needs them to prove that Baldoni and his team were spreading false narratives about her. According to legal filings submitted in March 2025, Lively's team insists that Baldoni's publicist and legal reps were leaking damaging information to the press. But critics were quick to point out the massive irony of this request, because Lively was the one who first accessed Baldoni's text messages. And this is where Blake Lively's credibility keeps crumbling. Baldoni has already provided the full context, unedited messages, complete conversations, and clear documentation that directly contradict Lively's claims. But instead of facing the truth, she keeps shifting the goalposts, acting like there's still some missing piece that will somehow justify her lawsuit. It's the classic move, throwing accusations at the wall and hoping something, anything, will stick. But as this case drags on, it's becoming painfully obvious. She's the one grasping at straws. And it's not just legal experts and media analysts calling her out. Hollywood itself is starting to distance from her. For years, the Me Too movement was an undeniable force in Hollywood, a movement that exposed real predators, real abuses of power, and real victims who had been silenced for decades. And for good reason. But over time, it also became clear, not every accusation was rooted in truth. And now, for the first time, a major Hollywood actress is failing to weaponize the movement in her favor. Because Baldoni? He refused to roll over. He didn't settle quietly. He didn't back down, he didn't let the PR machine crush him, and he definitely didn't let Hollywood silence him. Instead, Justin Baldoni came armed with receipts, challenged Blake Lively's claims in court, and stood his ground, even as the mainstream media tried to paint him as the villain. But as more evidence surfaced, the tide began to shift. By March 2025, the public wasn't looking at Baldoni as the abuser anymore. Instead, they were looking at Lively as someone who twisted narratives for personal and professional gain.
And now, Hollywood is watching. The same industry that once protected Lively at all costs is starting to see her in a whole new light.
Could Baldoni be the man to take down a Me Too power play, just like Johnny Depp did? This story is far from over. So if you want to stay ahead of every twist and turn, hit that subscribe button and like this video, because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next.